We are very deep in the age of AI right now. Everybody is talking about AI. How are you using it right now with these LinkedIn campaigns? And then what is working and what, in your opinion, still needs that human touch where AI is not going to be able to fill that?
Yeah, and this is always fun because I've talked to so many people, and I would say like 95%, it's like, yeah, we should be using AI for like all of these things. And it's like, what are you actually using AI for on a daily, weekly basis? And like, okay, well, content idea, inspiration, and a couple of things here. And so uncovering the actual things that are like legitimately useful and practical is actually harder than I think most people think. But some of the things that I think are super practical and easy is that AI is incredibly good at taking original work that someone else, like original copy someone else made, a structured prompt, and spitting out 10 to 20 variations. And you can even structure it to say, use this type of writing style that focuses on like a positive spin for these, focus on a negative spin for this, focus on the, this framework of copy and create different variations. And so taking original work and getting variations, that's super practical, even with unsophisticated prompts. That works really well. The other big one that I really like is it's actually really good at doing the time consuming data analyzing. So it's very mundane kind of task. It doesn't, I mean, it takes some expertise, but just sifting through the data and seeing like, okay, I have these 100 ads. Which ones are the best? And you're looking at the same things like what's the highest cost per click, pair that with also a good click through rate and blah, blah, blah. Has there been enough spend for me to know if that's statistically significant? And so you could, build a couple of rules and then have AI like dump the campaign like information into like ChatGPT and give it some prompts, and it could actually give you some meaningful insights from your data versus you spending 2 hours poring over that. So that I think that's super practical. And then another one, just from like a campaign management, would be dump your weekly reports, like data into there, and whatever changes you did, and then like that becomes a custom, basically chat gbt that could be a change log and insights. And if it has your weekly numbers and whatever you changed, it can then, because again, I have a terrible memory, so I'm like, oh, we're seeing like a huge drop in results. What did I do last week or 2 weeks ago that could have caused this? Go back through. LinkedIn doesn't have a good change log, so I think even just like having that be kind of your repository of where you're putting information, and then you can query it and say, hey, what was the last big change I made last month? Or, what do you think the commonality is between like the results going up and down and or the changes we've made? That could be incredibly useful as well.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my personal favorite ways of using it is a lot of times I'll just drop in some data from, previous month, or let's look at the full aggregate of 12 months with this campaign. What's working here? How are they accepting the information? We are huge Notebook LM fans here, and just, being able, to your point, drop something in and have it spit out a bunch of different ideas for us is always helpful when we're thinking about the marketing.
I have the latest versions of GPT. I think it's like the whatever 4.0 or something. Like it's actually getting really good at putting image on or text on image. But I would say I would still I still probably wouldn't lean on it to be creating ads, although it is possible. The one thing I have seen is you could also have a structured prompt that says, here's my five top competitors. Go to their website, look for these things, compare that to my website, and maybe help find the intersections between like what we should focus on. Like, what do we do that's different? Because so many people just focus on like, they just want to be one of the big players, so they just want to emulate them and they just want to like copy them. But really, your sweet spot is like, this is what they do, this is what you do. Where's that sweet spot of like what you do that they don't do? And I would focus on that, because the people that need that, like if that's what they need, then the other big players like aren't going to be able to satisfy them. But if you're just trying to be like the big dogs, like, you're, yeah, that's the only thing you're going to fight on then is like price. Like, okay, I'm like them, but I'm a lot cheaper. And that's not necessarily what you want to be competing on. So I do think it can really help with like research type stuff, especially around competitors. And now with the delay or the task, you could have it like run that on a regular basis and give you some information that might help.